誰にも否定させねえ。俺が王だ。てめえが何だろうと構わねえ。俺の前に立ちふさがるなら食い殺すまでだ。己の揺らくに命をかけの人生になるの意味が仕返しすぎて天外まとい万象等しく映し削らん円羅経典。トルメンタでメンテスでメルシエラコ。
Alright, what is going on, guys? This is your boy the Death Smasher, and welcome back to another Bleach Brave Souls video. And today we are back again with another Who Is Better video. And today we are going to be comparing the King of Flurry characters for PvE, Tokinada Yashiro, and we are going to be comparing him with the newly released Canon CFYOW Grimmjow, who is by far the best Grimmjow we have gotten so far in the game, and it feels good that we finally have one that is really fucking OP. So anyways, why compare these two characters? Well, for starters, they're both heart characters. Secondly, they both have flurry, they have the same killer, one is ranged, one is melee. That is the main difference between the two characters, and yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to be taking a look at their stats and skills first. This time around, we're going to be running the characters in their own individual runs, and after I've gone through the runs, I commentate and basically give out the pros and cons between the two characters, just to make this Who Is Better video completely different. So anyways, starting off with Grimmjow, he is an Arrancar/Espada unit, so for when it comes to Inheritance Zone and Droplet Zones, there are going to be some raids where enemies have Arrancar/Espada killer, so on that note, Grimmjow is going to have a bit of a hard time trying not to die, but that's just about it. It's not a big deal compared to enemies that have Captain Killer or Hollow Killer. So yeah, take a look at his stats. He's got 1,105 stamina. I do have his attack at level 10, so normally his base attack would be 773, but this time it's 1,273. Defense at 370, focus at 357, and an SP of 636. He's got damage reduction as an actual soul trait this time around, and taking a look at his attacks, he's a melee character. That being said, his special only does damage, and his strong attacks only does damage, as well as his normal attacks. So he's got no debilitating status ailments, no weakened defense, no nothing, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not a big deal at the end of the day, because his normal attacks will be doing most of the damage to begin with. He's got a 40% Bruiser, 50% Berserker, Flurry, Sprinter, Poise, Guard Break, and hit hidden enemies 100%. So overall, he is by far the auto god for when it comes to Heart Inheritance Zone, because you can just about bring this character in any sort of IZ and be able to auto like the king he is, because he is able to nullify enemies that have melee guard just fine, and he is able to even hit enemies that are hidden underground. So in other words, he already has a Zeta pill as an actual skill, which is really good and whatnot. Now taking a look at Tokinada on the other hand, he's gonna be doing a lot more damage compared to Grimmjow. That's all I am going to say. This unit is a no affiliation unit, meaning that there is no IZ or Droplet Zone where enemies have no affiliation killer, so he is completely safe on that regard. He's got normal attack damage at 25% this time around. His attack stat is 2 at level 10. But that being said, his stamina and SP is somewhat lower compared to Grimmjow's, but it's okay because he does have something to back himself up. He's got 1,100 stamina, 1,273 attack. Of course, the base stat would be 773 attack, same attack stat as Grimmjow. Defense at 372, focus at 361, and an SP of 632. Taking a look at his attacks and his skills, he's got a transformation mechanic and is a ranged character, and he can also boost on the second strong attack, making him by far the most powerful normal attacking unit in the game. Because look at this shit. Once you transform, the mags will change on both your normal attacks and your strong attacks, and you will be able to inflict freeze on the first strong attack and burn on the third strong attack. Unfortunately, because the transformation mechanic only lasts for 30 seconds, you need to be really lucky in order to be able to proc these kind of status ailments. As for his special, it's basically a guaranteed weaken proc, so you'll be able to do even more damage once you have nuked with your special. So yeah, now taking a look at his skills, he's got a 20% bruiser. Now considering he's got a normal attack damage soul trait of 25%, do some simple math. 20% plus 25% equals 45% bruiser. So he is going to be doing automatically more damage than Grimmjow right off the bat. He still has a 50% berserker, so basically just about the same. He's immune to being paralyzed, which is a bit useful. He's got Flurry, he's got Enhancer, he's got Sprinter, and he's got Guard Break. Now, the thing to note between him and Grimmjow is that Tokinada, he still does have Guard Break, but you still need to actually give him a Zeta Pill in order to hit the enemies that are hidden underground, which can be kind of annoying because you could lose out on potential damage output, but considering he already does enough damage alone as is, you kind of don't really need to have the Soccer Ball, because you can just give him a Chappie, Golden Chappie, and the Zeta Pill, and he'll be able to do just fine, and if not, do slightly better compared to Grimmjow for when it comes to doing damage. That being said, unlike Grimmjow, he cannot tank, and he cannot avoid getting staggered, unfortunately, because he lacks poise and he also lacks damage reduction. So when using this character, you need to be really careful not to get hit by enemies. And yeah, that's basically the main difference between the two characters. Now, like I stated before when I was going over Grimmjow's stats and skills, like I stated, I'm going to be doing individual runs with both of these characters. Starting off with Grimmjow and then following up with Tokinada. Both of the characters will have the exact same builds, so that way we can compare them evenly by the time we are done with the individual runs. And after the individual runs are done, I can also give you guys the overall pros and cons between the two characters. So let's just go and get right to the gameplay.
敵というやつ。
Alright, so now that we have seen both of the characters' individual gameplays, it is time to give you guys my overall opinions on both of the characters. Both characters are amazing in their own right, and can both be benefited for when it comes to having a flurry character for a GQ. But that being said, each of their own do come in their own pros and cons. So starting it off with Grimmjow, as we saw from his kit, he is a melee normal attack character with a really good kit. First two hits are pretty straightforward with good reach, and the last two hits have an AoE effect all around him, perfect for taking out mobs from the sides and from behind. In my opinion, this helps out a lot with the fact that Grimmjow lacks long reach, like most melee flurry characters that have a PvE killer. His strong attacks are also pretty good too, from his first and second strong attacks both having lunges, and a third strong attack that works exactly as Kokuto and Speed Ruruka. And considering he does have a 50% Berserker, you can run an SP build on the character and he will still kill enemies just fine with just his strong attacks. So now we can start off with the pros and cons for Grimmjow. So starting off with the pros, he is PvP viable. You can use him in PvP just fine because he has the four most essential requirements that are needed to be good in PvP, which is having flurry, poise, damage reduction, and a good killer. If you have him 5 out of 5, he's going to shred a lot of characters in PvP. Considering I did list a lot of things about how he works in PvP, here is the next pro. Poise and 20% damage reduction. These two assets mean a lot for Grimmjow for when it comes to autoing Inheritance Zone and Droplet Zone. This just means that he can't be staggered when an enemy hits him, and the only thing that is going to stop Grimmjow is if he gets affected by a status ailment or he dies, which also brings up the point of how good it is for him to have 20% damage reduction. Having DR means that he can tank and do damage, and as of right now, because we have 3 20 DR links for Heart, you can stack it up to 76% while also having a Senkaimon Zangetsu to do extra damage while tanking the enemies. Also, because he is a 20% DR link in general, if you're still running Unohana in PvP and have her 5 out of 5, you can easily go for a full-on 60% increase in her damage reduction. So Grimmjow works both as a link and as a playable unit. Also, going back to the autoing aspect of the character, here's another good pro for Grimmjow. No Zeta Pill needed. Thanks to his hit hidden enemies 100% chance skill, he can hit enemies that are underground without having to give him a Zeta Pill, which is perfect as you can still build him up with the best possible accessories, giving him a higher DPS without having to sacrifice an item that can potentially give out more damage increase to his attacks. You can easily run him with a Golden Chappie, a Chappie, and the Combat Spirit Bug, and not have to worry about the enemies that hide like the cowards they are. Now, with all that set aside, let's talk about the cons for Grimmjow. So, starting off with the first con is that he can't boost. Grimmjow's skill set is amazing, and the only thing he needed to be the perfect competitor to Tokinada is having boost. Which is also a bit of a shame because this also puts the likes of Oetsu to be better than him for when it comes to having more DPS, considering he is a flurry character that has the same killer as Grimmjow. Only difference is that he is a tech character. Speaking of which, here is another con for Grimmjow. No self vortex and lack of status ailments. Now, even though he does have poise, Grimmjow is still far from being invincible and being the best melee flurry character. Let's say we take a situation where you're killing off an enemy, but while you're in the process of killing a mob, another type of enemy is about to attack you. That will either fire laser, shoot fireballs at you, barrel roll you, or even slingshot at you. What can you do to stop the other enemy from attacking you? You can use your strong attacks to save yourself for a brief moment, but you cannot stagger them to the point that you can keep them unable to move, which is why you need to be careful when playing as Grimmjow. Also, not having any status ailments is bad enough because it makes the use of the Soul Bomb completely irrelevant, especially when you give Grimmjow a Chappie, taking away his SP. With Grimmjow, when it comes to taking down enemies, you need to get up close at all times and dodge around a lot for when an enemy is about to murder you. Which brings me to my next con about Grimmjow. He is slower than Tokinada. Now, what do I mean by slower than Tokinada? Well, let's put this into perspective. Tokinada is a ranged character, meaning that you can stay back and snipe down enemies from the far distance. Grimmjow, you need to get up close to the enemies if you want to be able to kill off your foes while clearing the run as fast as possible. With the fact that Grimmjow lacks long reach and lacks a self vortex, it makes Grimmjow have a bit of a harder challenge for when it comes to clearing hard content as fast as possible. Even though Grimmjow is a very safe character to bring due to him having poise and a high damage reduction, that doesn't mean much for when it comes to clearing a raid ASAP. With all pros and cons aside, Grimmjow is still a phenomenal character that is still worth link slotting and transcending. Now it's time to move on to Tokinada. Tokinada's kit, as we saw, he is a ranged normal attack character that can attack from the far distance without needing to get close, and his strong attacks are also pretty good for when wanting to run a hybrid or an SP build on him, with his first being a beam move, second a vortex pushback. Now it won't do the best for when it comes to damage, but does slightly push back enemies that are about to attack you, plus boosts yourself and your party members, and his third is a 1000 radius full screen strong attack. Again, just like Grimmjow, his strong attacks are good enough to kill mobs just fine as they share the same berserker of 50%. Now onto the pros and cons for Tokinada. And starting off with the pros, he does more damage than Grimmjow. This is all thanks to Tokinada having a 20% bruiser as a skill with an additional 25% normal attack damage soul trade, which stacks up to a total of 45%. Plus the boost on his second strong attack, which increases the attack, defense, and focus by 33% and stays that way for up to 20 seconds, while also having the transformation mechanic, doing the job of increasing the mags of the normal attacks and the strong attacks from 120% to 150%. The transformation mechanic can only be used once you use the soul bomb and lasts up to 30 seconds, but with 30 seconds, it's enough to take out big waves of mobs in a matter of a short time. Speaking of time, let's bring up another pro for this guy. He is faster than Grimmjow. Now forget the run that I did worse when I was running Tokinada compared to Grimmjow, because I was trying to put off more damage on the last hit towards some Soul Reapers. Getting on point, Tokinada is faster than Grimmjow, all because he is a ranged character. You can attack from the long distance, like as if you were a sniper camping in Call of Duty and still one-shot everything. Him being a ranged character makes a big difference, as you don't have to get up close to a mob just to shred it apart. Just stay back and let his ranged nad string do the job for you. Next pro for Tokinada, he is a no affiliation unit. Tokinada being a no affiliation unit matters a lot because we don't have content in the game where enemies have no affiliation killer, meaning that he is less likely to be killed and is a safe character to play as in every content in the game, compared to Grimmjow where he only has a couple of raids where enemies will have a Rankar or Espada killer. Now we've highlighted the pros about Tokinada, so it's time to move on to the cons. Starting off with the first con, he is not PvP viable. Unlike Grimmjow where you can actually use him in PvP just fine, Tokinada lacks poise and damage reduction, which is an essential need for PvP in order to stay up in the high ranks of 3rd seat, lieutenant, captain, and head captain. Tokinada will struggle, especially when dealing with meta units that have poise, DR, and even barriers. Now that being said, there is a way to use him in PvP where you can clutch the matches with him. But it's a double-edged sword because it means that you will have to give him a last-ditch survival link and a couple of low stamina damage boost links. As to where once the enemy has taken out Tokinada and moves on to the next opponent, the moment Tokinada revives, he will be able to snipe down from the back an enemy. It's a useful tactic, but if by the time that Tokinada revives the opponents have taken out most of your PvP team, you're fresh out of luck of winning. Considering Toki lacks DR and poise, this also leads me to the next con of the character. No poise or damage reduction. Now with Tokinada being a no affiliation unit, it does help out even the odds of not being killed fast since we don't have content where enemies have no affiliation killer. However, Tokinada will get staggered a lot as shown from my footage and will not be able to tank as much as Grimmjow. Now yes, you can still give Tokinada 3 20% DR links and be fine, but he still will not tank as much as Grimmjow. Tokinada may be the best flurry character in the game for PvE, but he's not 100% invincible. Now here's another con for Tokinada, but this is a bit of a hit or miss, so you guys are free to express your opinions in the comment section below. Zeta Pill needed to hit underground enemies. Unlike Grimmjow, where he already has a Zeta Pill built into his skills, Tokinada doesn't have that. Now that's not a problem, as you can still give Tokinada a Zeta Pill and be able to hit enemies that are hiding underground, but you will still be losing more potential DPS output. So for that, you will have to sacrifice a soccer ball or even a holobait if you want to get the best out of Tokinada in terms of being able to kill everything. He still does boost on his second strong attack, so I can understand why KLab decided not to opt for the hit hidden enemy skills earlier for Tokinada, so this con isn't exactly a big deal. I personally don't use Zeta Pills as I am fine as is without it, but there will be people that want to be able to do so, and to that point, people will have to replace one of their accessories to even use the Zeta Pill. So overall, in conclusion, Tokinada is the better character for when it comes to manual play in harder content in the game, and is overall just a god in co-op, guild quests, and in epic raids for when it comes to just using his normal attacks. Grimmjow, on the other hand, is still amazing and works well enough as a replacement for Tokinada, despite being slower and not putting out the most damage in PvE, but the fact that you can use him in PvP and have dupes for him more than makes up for the loss in faster runs and a much higher DPS output. Alright, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you actually liked this new format, I actually went for the Who is Better videos and want to see more of this in the future, please let me know down in the comment section below, because I could definitely use some feedback from you guys, the fans, if I should keep going like this or go back to how I used to do the Who is Better videos. But yeah, don't forget to smash that like button, hit the bell notification so that way you guys are up to date with the content I put out. Subscribe to my channel, and share this video with your friends and family. So yeah, this has been your boy the Death Smasher, and I am signing out. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, lads.